Don't call me a drunkard just because I like a drink. You don't say I'm a philosopher when I'm sitting there trying to think. I don't drink to drown my sorrows, and it's not habitual. Believe me when I say to you, it's purely medicinal. The weakness to my arthritis, it strengthens up my bones. Because I like to drink. You don't say I'm a philosopher when I'm sitting there trying to think. I don't drink to drown my sorrows, and it's not habitual. Believe me when I say to you, it's purely medicinal.
Hi, and welcome to Wednesday Winos. I'm Rebecca from Kangaroo Ridge Retreat, and I'm here with...
I'm Ben from Watts River Brewing, and we have...
And I'm Mike from Hop Hen Brewing.
From Hop Hen Brewing. So it's Wednesday, it's hump day, and we'd like to celebrate all things delicious and wonderful from the Yarra Valley, and why not do that with Hop Hen, who are based in Lilydale. So welcome to the show. I'm sorry, Mick. Welcome to the show. So, yeah, what are we drinking tonight?
I've got a couple of beers tonight. I've just got my little esky next to me here. So we've got our Lilydale Lager. So that's just crisp, easy drinking, dry lager. And one of our favourites for this time of year, our Hop Hen smoked porter. So they're both selling really well at the moment. And, we enjoy making them and we enjoy drinking them.
Fabulous. So anyway, we'll start with the Lilydale Lager. And
do you want to give us a bit of a background on Hop Hen, Mike?
Yeah,
sure.
Where
Absolutely.
you started, what your background is, all that sort of stuff.
Yep. So background for us, I'm an avid home brewer. In fact, I still sometimes brew at home when I'm not at work, just for a bit of fun in the kitchen and whatnot. And love brewing, really enjoy, like beers, love breweries, visiting breweries, though I don't get to do much of it anymore. And about 4 years ago, we were on a family trip. We headed up to Darwin, and then we chased the West Coast all the way home. And stopped in just about every brewery there was home. And we're sitting in a little brewery called Burnt Barrel in WA on the coast there. And I looked around my wife, Jodie. I said, "This is what I want to do." She looked at me and thought I was nuts. We got back about 3 months later from that trip, and by the time we got home, we had a business plan ready to go, and it sort of was in action, and things started. But it took us about another 2 years to get our doors open, and we opened Australia Day last year. So we've been open for about a year and a half now. So, and loving every minute of it. So
you're doing a really good job and getting a really good name for yourself out there. So congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Look, for us, cheers. Thanks, guys. The philosophy for us is, we make beers that we like to drink. So,
that's our philosophy as well. So I like that you do that. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the Lilydale Lager.
Yeah, okay. We last Oktoberfest, we did an Oktoberfest lager for the Yarra Valley Oktoberfest, and quite different to this one, much more here in alcohol, higher ABV and whatnot. And it sold really, really well, and we were surprised at how well lagers went. So then we played around with the Pilsner for a while, and we really enjoyed making that. But then I played around with this lager recipe, and it's good. It's really good. I think there's a few little tweaks we still want to make it even better, but it's selling really well. And we just thought, we're in Lilydale. It's a lager. What better name have you got than Lilydale Lager? So we've settled on it, and it's actually outselling our Aussie, which was their first ever beer by far. So for our Aussie, I'll be giving a rest, and Lilydale Lager is going to step to the fore.
Well, it's tasting really good. Like, it's crisp, clean, just a really good, easy drinking lager. So I reckon you've done really well.
Thank you. And that's what it's designed for. When we made it, we pictured, people going into the local pub and drinking it and just sitting on it for the day. It's the sort of beer that you can drink easily and really settle into. So it's one of those beers where I think one's never quite enough. You always want a second one, which is good.
Yep. Well done.
Yeah. So what is so the first year apart? Let's not talk about the big COVID at the moment, but apart from what's been the biggest challenge that you've had starting the brewery and how this journey to where you are 1 year later, 1.5 years later?
Yeah, thank you. So the biggest challenge probably has been, the hours we've put into it. Leading up to just getting the place open, we were doing 80, 90-hour weeks. The plan was to ease back on that. It really hasn't happened. Still doing everything. Having said that, at the start we were doing it by ourselves, my wife and I. Pretty much, I was doing all the brewing. She was still working another job and working at the brewery. And slowly we've got some staff on board, and now we've got just fantastic people working with us. So getting the right people around us has been a real help. Finance is always a struggle for a start of anything, I think. And then I just find the links and the contacts. You don't know what you don't know until you actually see people. What sometimes seem like silly questions. You struggle a bit, and we did. But we look at people like Ben and Aaron over at Watts who entertained me for a few hours, and I sat there and said, "Now, what about this? What about that?" And they helped me out a lot, and that's been good. So yeah, it's been challenging, but it's been worth every minute of it. So, but I came out of what was a very challenging job as a school principal, so that side of it was all right. In fact, I'm less stressed with this because this is all in my control now.
Yeah. So we've got Lilydale Lager from Hannah. Is it a true lager?
Absolutely, yeah. We use a lager yeast for this one, and it's made that way, yeah. So I think S189 off the top of my head, I think it's the lager yeast we've got it. So it's a really neutral yeast base. So it doesn't leave any other flavours or doesn't add anything to the beer in terms of flavour. I think you really just get that crispiness from the malt.
What makes I'm going to ask, I always ask the simple questions because I think I'm a newbie at beer brewing. What makes a lager a lager?
Jump in at any time, but to correct me if I go astray. But so every beer is fermented with a yeast of some sort, and the yeast consume the sugars, I guess, and create the alcohol. A lager yeast is typical strains from Europe, where it's a lot colder. They used to brew these over winter, so these yeasts are really good in cold climates. And you would put your yeast in and let it sit for a long period of time. It would do the work slowly at a much lower temperature. Whereas an ale yeast ferments a lot faster at a lot higher yeast, but then you get different flavours out of ale yeasts as well. But there's a whole lot of different lager yeast and ale yeast. So, but yeah, it's a true lager. It's absolutely lager yeast in that one.
Summed up well.
Oh, thank you. No, not bad for a school teacher, eh?
Back in the classroom.
School teacher.
Go ahead, Ben.
Should we move on to the second beer, or have we still got more?
I'm gonna have to get it from the.
I'll come back to it, mate. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. I've still got some there, but let's push on to the next one. Kind of looking forward to this.
Have you had this one before, Ben?
I don't think I have actually. So I was having a conversation with one of our staff today, and he says, "Yeah, it's tasting really good." So, looking forward to trying it.
Okay, so this one's our smoked porter. So when we're talking about porter, we're talking a pretty style dark beer. Perhaps not as heavy in terms of malt profile as a stout, but not too far off in a similar family. So this is an ale, however, when we talk about ales and lagers, this is an ale yeast. So fermented over a faster period. But having said that, this is a beer that I think gets better with a bit of time as well. So the one we're drinking today is really fresh. It was only canned yesterday. But I still get better beer in a week's time or 2 weeks' time. So what we've done with this one is just added not a lot. I think it's only about 6% of the grain bill has got a smoked malt in it. In this case, it's a cherry wood smoked malt, and you just get a hint of smoke, when on your palate, just as you're sort of swallowing it, and just afterwards, you can smell it a little bit. And the hint is the key to this style of beer. You don't want it to be bacon in a glass, or as one person said, I was expecting to be drinking from an ashtray and was pleasantly surprised. I thought that was an interesting review. But yeah, so we love it. I think it's just good in terms of smoky hints. What do you guys think?
It's got good balance to it, so you've done well there. Like, yeah, similar philosophy to, I suppose, our stout. Like, we use similar proportions of smoke malt in that. We use beech smoke, but just to work with the other flavors rather than dominating and really taking over.
Yeah, I think that's key in a lot of your more subtle beers too. Is I don't think any one flavour should dominate most beers. I think you need to get just hints to make it. If the flavour dominates, I find by the end of the glass I'm done. I've had it. But if it's just a hint, and then it keeps me interested, and I can drink more or try more. And
rounds the beer out a bit more. So you want to go back for another one. So
exactly.
So my experience with small beers have actually been because I burnt it.
Well,
I'm sure plenty of great beers have been invented by mistakes.
I've tipped a lot of beer out in my time. So
in fact, I tipped out. I've had 2 mistakes in the brewery. One in the brewing for me, I had to dump the whole lot because I'd stuffed up. The second one was undoing the wrong butterfly valve, and all of a sudden the pressure pushed it off, and I was standing there nearly crying with 1,100 litres of Aussie Ale just pouring out at my feet down the drain. I was just standing there. Couldn't get the pressure on, seriously, and there were tears. I thought, oh no.
What's your biggest devastating one that you had to pour down the drain?
I don't get too upset by pouring stuff down the drain because I always, like at home, I always would make space by pouring beer down the drain, and it's the worst beer I had around, so I'd always have better beer to drink. So without making space. But I did a brew on my home brewery at White Rabbit there once, and then had to winch it upstairs and dropped a plastic fermenter from about 5 meters up and just went everywhere. So I was pretty devastated then. But other than that, we haven't actually tipped a lot out at Watts River. I think we've thrown out one batch and we're up to 300 and something, so that's pretty low.
Good go. Yeah,
it's pretty low percentages.
Yeah.
And we've got a still now, so we can always make it still if we don't like it now. So.
Now, well, that's true, yeah. Well, I'm coming around to see that one of these days too.
You could paint it like red and white. It would look like a Dr. Seuss hat. It's kind of cool that sits on your brewery.
It's working really well still. So we're working on what we want to do with it. We'll do some whiskies is our ultimate plan, and then maybe in the short term do some vodkas, some straight up and some flavored ones. So, but yeah.
Gin as well. You got the capability for doing gin, running the flavours through it.
Yeah, I don't have a gin basket, but I could get one. So,
retrofit it in there or something.
Yeah, but it's all tri-clovered together, all the bits. So you can just add to it and take, like you can adjust it. So we can run it as a pot still or as a reflux still, and you just take out what you don't want or put back in what you want. So it's
you could still yourself enough water to do a salsa. Have you started playing with salsas at all?
No.
I've started playing, unsuccessfully so far, but I've started playing.
Apparently, the new hit thing. So,
sorry? Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
So
I think that was.
Oh, sorry. I was going to ask you a question about what are your plans for? What are the biggest things that you're doing in the period now in terms of the close downs or as you're opening up? What's happening with you guys at Hop Hen?
Yeah, thank you. We're running sessions at the moment, and we're sort of advertising those through our Instagram and Facebook pages. Like everyone else, we're limited to 20 people, but that's been going well. The support from the community has been really good. But for us, probably what used to be a little bit of extra business on the side, which was our takeaway cans, because we only sort of started canning our beer probably November last year, I think. That became the business for us all of a sudden. So we had to really ramp up production and canning, which was pretty investment heavy in terms of paying to get all the canning done and those sorts of things. So we do it all on site, but we have a canning company come to us. We don't have our own canning line at this point in time. But it's been really good and really successful, and so far so good. We've had a lot of great interest from people walking in off the street, and we've picked up quite a few bottle shops, particularly on the east side of Melbourne. So it's been good. So that's where we're at. Going forward, we're looking at a few one-off beers, starting to do some single release stuff a little bit. And we're playing around with a few recipes with that. The upside of COVID is we have more time to play stuff, so that's kind of been good too.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned
Watch
today.
your face.
Oh, sorry.
Say it again.
When you mentioned today that your license, or was it yesterday? I'm not sure. You had a license then plus a teaching space in terms of home brewing. Have you noticed a pick up from people interested in home brewing at all, or is that anything that you still do as part of Hop Hen?
So we haven't really got part of our original license was to run a home brewing course. As an ex-educator, I still would like the idea of getting my finger in that area. But we didn't really have, at this point, a brewery set up to do it. Our minimum batch was probably about 600 litres, which is a lot of stubbies to take home for one group. It might be something we still look into further. So we've adjusted our licence. It was originally 70 people plus 15 who were running a home brewing course, taking us to a total of 85. Now it's just an 85 flat. But if we can get the home brewing equipment or we can get the small scale equipment in, we might go back down that path a little bit. Having said that, there's some home brewers out there who come in and visit my brewery, and they're fantastic, and they know more about brewing than I do. I tell you, they know everything, the intricacies. I learn more from them than they learn from me in any one session. It's just brilliant. I love it.
Have you seen a pickup on it? Basically, a little bit like the sourdough trend that's going on. We've got homebrew brand, everyone fermenting.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Well, I've had about 3 guys asking me about sort of our little setup that we've got now, and they're all buying stuff. And I've got guys who are filling up corny kegs, and guys the other day filled one up because they were having a brew day with their mate, so they wanted a full corny keg to drink while they were brewing. I just said, fellas, I've yet to make a good brew with a few beers under my belt. Things go wrong, you forget to do parts. But anyway, good time. Yeah, so I reckon, I think a lot of people have got back to home brewing. People, especially people with time on their hands now. If you're working from home, you're taking out maybe an hour or two a day of travel. You're probably more in your amount of time, and they've got time to do these things, which is awesome. It's great. It's an upside.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And home brewers they just love it. They love the flavours. They love all that. So they're the best people to stand at the bar and talk to about your beers. That's for sure.
So, what we usually do to tie up the end of the Wednesday Winos is we like to think about positive things. I mean, Victoria's is going up and down in kind of their trajectory in terms of where they're heading with this pandemic. So I guess what would be really lovely to talk to people about is something positive that we've noticed in the last week. So we end up on a high note, and then we can talk about what's happening with Wednesday Winos. So yeah, Mick, what have you noticed in the last week or so that's made you go, hey, that's a good thing?
Look, I still think just the support from people. We've had just so many people saying, "Oh, hey, how you going? How's your business going? You all right? We want you here at the end of the day or at the end of the week." And they come in and they join us, or we had a lovely couple come in who are regulars, and they hadn't been in for about 3 weeks. And I had a chat to them and said, "How you going? Oh, look, we would have been in with Bean Crook, but we're back," And I thought that's awesome. They love it, and it just makes me feel really warm inside knowing people are really barracking for us to survive, and they've really taken on our venue as their own. So, yeah, I think community support's probably the big thing to come out of this, and I think it's just awesome. But it's not just for us; it's for all small business. I think that the push out there to support local and to buy Australian, all those sorts of things, just brilliant.
What about you, Ben?
I reckon one of the best things this week was today's weather. Like it was it was a cracking day. But other than that, on the people side of things, like I had a lady ring up today, and she's in a hot zone coming up, but she had the decency to ring up and cancel rather than just letting her booking slide. And yeah, really good. And you could tell she was upset, but she was just doing the right thing and letting us know, which really helps us out. So just people like that just give us all a lot of hope, and we're really thankful for people like that. So yeah.
Lovely. That's nice. We had a couple of cancellations because of the hotspot lockdown, and it was very sad to say. Yes, unfortunately they can't come, but it was really lovely to see that support that they had for us as a small business was there, and they really want to come in the future. But because I was looking through my guest list, I realized that a lot of the guests that are staying with us in the next weeks and are actually repeat guests. They're coming back, so it's really. I'm so thankful that we are able to welcome everybody again, and that they're coming back, and taking away. And they booked directly, so that book local, support local was all there. And I'm like, little thumbs up because I got one against booking.com. Book directly. It was good.
Absolutely. Book direct for sure.
So thank you so much for joining us for Wednesday Winos, Mick. It was really lovely.
Thank you.
Ben, your pick, the porter or the lager?
Probably slightly the lager, actually. So, but they were both great, like really, really well made. So,
much appreciated. Thank you.
Delicious. Look forward to seeing you again. Hang on the line just a bit, Mick. We'll just talk afterwards. I'll move it off, and then we'll talk about what's happening next week. So, not next week. Wednesday Winos. So, Ben and I and Watts River and Kangaroo Ridge Retreat, we're moving on, and not moving on, so it's the wrong words to say, but working together every week and on Wednesday Winos, and we wanted to actually make a better show, and to do that we would probably need to do a little bit more time to prepare. What do you think, Ben? What are your thoughts here?
Just to really line people up a bit earlier, because we've got a lot on and we've left a few to the last minute, so maybe we just push it out to first Wednesday of every month.
So we are going to be doing Wednesday Winos once a month now, so first week of the month, and we make it a little bit of a bigger show so we can show a beer and a wine to showcase something that's happening in Yarra Valley, which is fantastic. We love it. So look out. We're going to announce who our guest will be for the 5th of August on Wednesday Winos. So until then, thank you, Ben. Thank you, Mick, and all the people that have been part of the show. And yes, I'll see you later, and take care till next month.
I think that went okay.